Hello everyone and welcome back to another CodeSTARS video. Today we'll be discussing a theory that came to our mind after playing the newly released Resident Evil Village demo, and this theory is that, did Mia visit the village before Ethan? As I said, how me and David came to this theory is, we played the demo, we saw what happened in the demo, but then we went back and watched the village trailers, and we noticed that in the announcement trailer, the majority of that trailer, we see the villagers that we meet in the demo, but in the demo they all die, and we didn't see the scenes that are in the announcement trailer. So when do they happen? That means they must happen prior to the village demo, right? If that made any sense at all. So I was thinking, when could this be placed in? When could we see these scenes? Now, it is possible that the announcement trailer is some sort of either montage, or it's just Capcom with some early cut content scenes and stuff like that, and that explains why we don't see that in the demo, or just something like that in general. But I don't know, a lot of the announcement trailer we see these villagers and we see content involving him. I don't think they'd cut that much content or completely mislead us with the entire trailer pretty much. So we must see some of these scenes at some point, and as I said, since they all die at the end of the village demo, this must be prior to that. So then David come up with the idea of, you know what if Mia visits the village before Ethan does?
Yeah, and the possibility of that just brings a whole new perspective to those clips in the trailer. And we play as Mia in Resident Evil 7. She's one of the main characters. We see her die in the first ever trailer, right? In that same announcement trailer at the end. Chris shoots her many times. And I just find that odd. So I was thinking, what if Mia has more of a part? What if she goes to the village? What if you control her? You meet these characters as Mia. Now, something else that caught my eye in the announcement trailer was the fact that we see Roxana holding a baby. Now, that could be hers.
Yeah, it could be her baby. That could very well be her baby, but I don't know. Considering we see her in the village demo, there's no mention of a baby, there's no baby in sight or anything like that, so I don't think it's hers. And you could say, well, maybe Mother Miranda took her baby as well. That is a possibility, but I don't know, I feel like we'd at least get a mention. Yeah, or is it Rose? I personally think that it could be Rose, and it could be Rose on Mia's visit to the village. Maybe she's holding Rose and, you know, they're all discussing Mother Miranda or something, because you know that these villagers are like obsessed with her and see her as a god or whatever. Maybe they're just simply discussing that or something of the sort. But I think this would make sense and tie everything up nicely, because if Mia visits the village, it could explain a bunch of things. It could explain how Mother Miranda knows of Rose to begin with. Obviously Rose would be a target from the get-go, because Rose holds the mold in her blood, and that is DNA of a potential bioweapon. So maybe that's the reason Mother Miranda wants to go after Rose to begin with. It could also explain how Mia learns of this local tale. Maybe this village of the Shadows book comes from the village, and that's why she ends up getting obsessed with it and stuff like that. Like, I think it would explain a lot of things. Obviously there's some details that you could go into and be like, why did this happen? Why would Mia go to the village to begin with? You know, it could be something as simple as she goes for a walk with Rose and stumbles upon across this local village. And yeah, I just think it makes perfect sense, and it's definitely a possibility. I just can't see why in the announcement trailer we see a good amount of scenes that we don't see in the village demo. And you could say maybe Ethan meets them prior to basically the events that happen in the demo, but that can't be the case, because he introduces himself to everyone then. No one knows who Ethan is at that point. You know, when he bumps into Elena and her father, he introduces himself, and if he had met them prior to this, he wouldn't have to introduce himself. They'd know who Ethan is. So that can't be the case. It means that we must meet them and be introduced to these characters at an earlier time.
Now, something else to back this up as well, actually, is in the second trailer we have Mia reading the Village of Shadows book to Rose, and Ethan seems kind of concerned that she knows a lot about it and she's really into that stuff, in which, you know, she creepily says, stop being so paranoid, it's just a local tale.
Yeah, exactly. And her tone of voice and stuff is just completely different to where Ethan's having a conversation with her and he basically says, be positive, we've talked about this, and she says, I know, it's all we've talked about. You have like a concerned, she sounds concerned. Whether that's about Rose or not, we have no idea, but it's just very interesting.
The roles are
such
reversed,
a big change
in both of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Ethan goes from being the one who's like positive and like stop being paranoid, and Mia's the one who's concerned, to the roles reversing, and then Ethan's like, hold on a minute, you're really into this stuff, like showing some sort of concern, and then Mia's like, stop being paranoid. It's just a complete switch, and I'm thinking, why does Mia have this change of tone all of a sudden? Like, not just a small change of tone, it's like, as David said, completely reversed, like completely switched. So perhaps this could really parallel Resident Evil 7 here, where Mia isn't necessarily Mia. You know, as I mentioned, she has the mold in her blood, and from what we know, it's like dormant at the minute. It's just at a stop. Maybe there's a way to trigger that again and trigger the mind control part of it, because that's what the mold isn't. The biggest effect of the mold as a virus is mind control. Is how the bakers were infected, is how pretty much everyone gets infected. We saw a lot of that during Resident Evil 7. maybe Mia is under the control of Mother Miranda or something, and that's why she's acting so strange.
Yeah, I mean that too. And going back to earlier when we were talking about the announcement trailer, and how at the end Chris kills Mia. He not only just kills her, Chris proceeds to shoot her. Not once, like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, he shoots her a lot, like in the head as well, not just like random body shots, in the head.
Yeah.
Why would he do that? Like, why would he shoot her multiple times? And why would he just burst in to shoot her to begin with? Like, maybe Mia wasn't, as I said, wasn't Mia, and she maybe tries to attack Ethan. This is where I said where it parallels Resident Evil 7 in a way, because the beginning of that game, Mia attacks you. Maybe it's a very similar sort of thing where Mia's just acting out of control, and Ethan's just trying to keep like Mia away from Rose or something, and she ends up attacking him. Chris bursts in, shoots her, stops that from happening, because maybe he's aware of this mind control. Maybe he knows more than what we think he does.
Maybe Ethan has told Chris about Mia's strange behaviour. That's a possibility, isn't it?
I mean, that is definitely a possibility, considering that they are under the protection of the BSAA and they have moved them to a like a safe house.
Yeah.
So maybe there's check-ins with Chris, and he's told Chris about, you know, Mia's acting strange in some way, and then Chris has gone on to do further research that we haven't seen. Obviously, this is a lot of maybes and stuff, but this is a theory. This isn't us saying this is what happens, but this is a very plausible scenario that I could definitely see making sense.
Yeah, when the villagers died in the recent demo, it made me think, hold on, we saw those villagers a lot in the announcement trailer. So let me go back and have a look at that, and it's just so much there to the point where, yeah, it could be cut content, yeah, it could be like a montage of the village, but
I mean, yeah, it could definitely be a montage or just cut content in general, but if it isn't, then I think this is a very plausible scenario that makes sense, and I think it ties everything together nicely. You know, it makes sense as to how the village, Mother Miranda in particular, becomes aware of Rose. It explains how Mia gets hold of the Village of the Shadows book and learns of this local tale. And as I said, with Mia having the mold in her blood and the biggest effect of that being mind control stuff, I think it does make sense that someone, could be Mother Miranda, could be something else just in general, could trigger that and maybe take control of Mia and end up attacking Ethan because she wants to bring Rose to the village or something like that. Like, that is definitely a plausible scenario. Then causing Chris to burst in, stop that from happening, kill her, and take Rose to protect Rose, not to give Rose to Mother Miranda, which for some reason is what the game and the trailers in general are trying to tell us. Like, they're trying to make it seem like Chris is taking Rose and giving them to Mother Miranda, like he's the bad guy. But I don't think it's the case at all. I think he's made hard decisions and he's taken Rose to protect her, but that's gone wrong, and ultimately Mother Miranda's ended up taking Rose. Now, there are obviously holes in this theory, a big one being, how would the mind control thing even work? Like, that was specific to Evelyn. Evelyn's gone now and doesn't appear to be a part of this story at all. So how the hell would someone else control Mia, like mind control her? But at the end of the day, this is Resident Evil. I'd say out of the majority of game franchises, probably one of the most inconsistent stories of all time. They're never known to be consistent, so they could easily put something in this game that could explain that. We don't know. I think this theory definitely makes sense though, and it's definitely a possibility.
Now, to be honest, I kind of hope that is the case, because I would love to just play as Mia, go into the village, meeting these characters before everything's gone to shit. I think that'd be
seeing
a really,
the calm before the storm,
yeah,
basically.
like, I think that'd be a really interesting part of the game. Or even if that's not Mia, it could be someone else. I just think that would be a really interesting part of the game to not only play as Ethan, but play as someone else too.
Yeah, but I don't see who else it could be. Like, if you do visit the village prior, it could either be one of two characters. It could either be Chris or Mia, and I really do not think it's going to be Chris. Like, I just don't see it being Chris. If anything, Chris will be watching from afar. Like, you know what I mean? That would be Chris's role in that sort of thing. I just think it makes most sense out of the two to be Mia, and it can't be anyone else because we're not introduced to any other character. They seem to be the three main characters, like protagonists, I guess, that we're familiar with: Ethan, Mia, and Chris. And I just think Mia makes most sense. So yeah, that's just a short theory that me and David came up with. I don't think there's enough theories out there, to be fair, especially when it comes to Resident Evil Village. I feel like it's a game that should be theorized about more in terms of story. Like, you have the Umbrella origins and all that. I think it's very interesting, and there's so many possibilities and so many theories out there that are definitely plausible and make sense. So yeah, we thought, why not just make this into a video? Maybe it'll give someone else ideas. Maybe it'll help someone piece together things in a better way, basically making it make more sense or whatever. So we thought, let's just make a video on it. We are short of 2 weeks away from the release of Village, So why not just get all the content out there
Absolutely.
that we can? And when coming up with these theories, we want them to have like a basis. We want them to make sense in some way, even though there would be holes in them because it is a theory after all. Not everything's going to make sense. We didn't just want to say maybe Mia visits the village and that's it, without thinking of the things that could lead up to that and the things that could progress from that. You know what I mean? We wanted to make it make most sense, because I know a lot of theories in the Resident Evil fandom just come out of nowhere. Where it'd be like Alcina is Alex Wesker, and that's it, just with no basis, no reasoning as to why that could be the case. I feel like it always makes theories much more enjoyable to delve into and to discuss when there's actually something to work with. But yeah, with that being said, that about wraps up this theory video. Definitely leave your thoughts and comments down below if you can try and pin something together that makes more sense, or, you know, add to it or change something up completely. Feel free to. I'm all for discussing Resident Evil village theories. As I said, I don't think there's enough village talk out there other than Alcina. Seems to be the only talking point at the minute. But I'm here for the theories and the in-depth lore stuff that we could be getting for Resident Evil Village. So yeah, leave your thoughts and comments down below. Definitely leave this video a like. It helps the channel get recognized, helps the video get recognized and sharpen people's recommended boxes and stuff like that. And also subscribe, because if you're a big fan of Resident Evil, then you obviously ain't going to want to miss the content we've got planned. We've got a bunch of videos planned, a bunch of discussion videos planned to do with Village, even though it is short of 2 weeks from coming out. And even after Village is released, we're going to be doing lore videos, you know, explain videos on stuff that is revealed in Village and stuff like that. So we've got a bunch of stuff planned. If you are a Resident Evil fan and you want to keep up with that, then definitely subscribe. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, cheers for watching, guys.